Hello, good evening. I'm Queen F of Ari'ze Women Network. Thank you for joining me today. This is the second episode of a series that I'm doing, which is called Chicago Success. Chicago Success Profile Series features a collage of different videos of people who are from Chicago or who have resided in Chicago. And I have a special guest today. Her name is Pam Osbey. Pam Osbey is Mocha's sister. Mocha's sister is the author of Musings of a Mocha Sister, Tears of a Woman, and Liquid Kisses. She was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, and currently lives in New Jersey. North New Jersey. After teaching for several years in Chicago, she relocated to the East Coast and earned her master's degree in disability studies from CUNY School of Professional Studies and holds a certification in vegan nutrition. She is a writer, singer, and podcast personality currently hosting shows on Anchor FM and Spotify. She is the recipient of the 2004 Gwendolyn Brooks Poetry Award in Literacy from the Poetry Center of Chicago and will be releasing her next collection of poetry in the summer of 2021. And thank you for joining me, Pam, and of course, Mocha Sister. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me here. Yeah, from Chicago, South Side, y'all. South Side.
Chicago, Chi-Town. And me and Mocha Sister
Chi-Town,
go
not
back. We
Chi,
go back
correct.
for far, far. We
Chi-Town
are not
people.
strangers. Just kind of give you guys an intro. I met Pam, Mocha Sister, on the south side of Chicago at one of the poetry events we used to attend at Jazz and Java House on
Mm.
35th and King Drive.
Mm.
And we used to go there every week. Every Saturday, you can catch us putting down some poetry, sharing the stage with some well known people that you know today. For
Mm.
instance, Malik Yusuf. Remember
Mm-hmm.
Malik, Pam?
Yes, indeed.
Well, Malik is doing really good. He actually was very influential in the movie Love Jones. So
Yes,
I'm
he
told that
was.
he kind of uh, ran through some lines and helped Lorenz Tate with some of his poetry and Love Jones. And
Yes.
that's one thing that when I think about us, I think about how we ushered in the neo soul. Actually, the poets of the 90s and the 80s, we ushered in neo soul, and we kind of laid the groundwork for the artists that came around and started, laying down some wonderful love lyrics that came from some of our poetry. So,
Yeah.
yeah, Pam. So, just give us some background information on yourself.
So, like I said, I'm originally from Chicago, born and raised. Where was I? On the South Side. The last time I lived on the South Side before I moved was around probably 2008. And
Mm-hmm.
at that time, for about 6 years, I lived on 75th and South Shore Drive. Like
Oh,
basically, that was my area. And at that time, I was teaching at various schools through the Chicago Poetry Center of Chicago, which is a literary organization that hires poets. I
okay.
accidentally came upon my job after I published Musings of a Mocha Sister, and I was walking around.
Right.
I was walking around the
Wait a minute now.
yeah.
I have the book
You got the
here, and
book.
it is so good. Musings of a Mocha Sister.
So
Look
yeah,
how thick it is, you
that's a
guys. This is a book
that's
of
the
poetry.
original
I mean,
Mocha Bible.
very good book too, I must say.
But thank you. So I was walking around there, and the only thing I had on me, like I went in one of those booths, and they had the Poetry Center sitting there, and they were like, "Okay, we're looking for poets." I thought they were lying. I was like, "Okay, sure." So
Really?
tips for my writers: make sure you always have some information, a business card or something. For me, I had a packet, and it had that book. It
Hmm.
had my poetry performance resume, which included all the places I performed and stuff like that. and I had a business card in there that had my name, my email address, how to contact me. And so
Mhm.
from that experience, they basically contacted me and said, "Hey, we're
Mhm.
having group interviews." First time I ever went to a group interview,
Hmm.
early 2000s, and they were like, "Look, you made the cut." I'm like, "What?" So I worked with the Poetry Center in Chicago, and a couple of the schools I worked at were West Pullman Elementary. Um,
Mhm.
I worked at South Shore High School, right down the street from my house.
Wow. South Shore.
So,
Okay.
all kinds of schools, but I pretty much did schools in Hyde Park. I did schools in Latino areas where I was
Mhm.
like the only black chick.
Wow.
I worked with English and
Mhm.
bilingual classes. I worked with special kids with disabilities, special needs children, and
Is
I
that
did
where
that
where
for
you
about
work? Is that when you worked at After School Matters that you work with
After
the
School Matters
disabled?
came after I got in with the Poetry Center. So the Poetry Center kind of drove me connecting with so many people. If you
Mhm.
do good work one place, everybody else is going to want to work with you. So I showed up on time, always had a smile, looking all crazy,
All
had my
right.
poetry book, had my poems. They used to
All
call me the
right.
poetry lady, and I would just come. From
Mhm.
that experience in some of those schools, they had extra money at that time, and they would say, "Hey, we need somebody to come and do a family literacy or after school program with kids." And
Mhm.
so I did After School Matters. I worked at Chicago Park District. I worked with Chicago Humanities Festival.
So,
Uh,
what inspired you to get into writing and poetry? Because, of course, growing up in urban communities such as South Side, Northwest Side of Chicago, mostly South Side, I can speak for myself. But you have the hood, which you have the negativity, then you have some positive. So, how did you begin to distinguish what you were going to get into as far as writing?
I didn't know what I was going to get into after high school. I was dealing with a lot of interesting things that some girls and some children who are the children I ended up working with have experienced, which is living in a home with one parent and the
Mm-hmm.
other parent is not there, and being a girl and not being uh, um, engaged with her father. So I was like really mad when I first started writing poetry. I was
Mm-hmm.
very angry, and so I wrote those not to be poems that people don't see those poems because I don't have those poems circulating, but I wrote a lot of poems explaining my frustration about being what I call an abandoned child, abandoned meaning the father was nowhere involved.
Mm-hmm.
However, as time goes on, your feelings change, you process things. So I used the poetry to kind of as a healing tool, a holistic tool for myself to process things that would occur. And in writing, it's kind of like a question answer period. Like you might
Mm-hmm.
put a question in a poem, and either the things are being answered as you develop your voice. And
And that's
share
why
that with other people, and then you start having a conversation about some of the subject matter that you're writing about.
That's probably why it's so important that, like in After School Matters and the different programs, that we keep those programs in the school system because the young people need an outlet. Just like you said, you have frustration and being just from a one parent family, and you poured those frustrations into your writing. And so that really will help the young people, which is what we need. We need to continue to keep poetry and theater and all the extracurricular activities for them to be able to have an outlet because we have all these feelings, we have to have somewhere to put it. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you look, if you are from Chicago, if you heard of people that came out of Chicago, out of After School Matters,
mhm.
I mean, we had some dope people come out.
Yep.
Chance the Rapper, ring a
Oh,
bell.
really? I didn't
He
know Chance the
basically was
Rapper
in,
was.
he was in one of the programs that was I call really nice because they had digital computers, laptops, all of that stuff, and they had
Uh-huh.
them down at Harold Washington Public Library.
Oh.
And the program ran out of that, and he was one of the main people in that program. And rest in peace, brother Mike was one of the facilitators, and he's just
Mhm.
one of the bright shining stars that came out of that. That's why you and not
Is
just
that brother Mike from Jazz and Java on 35th and King Drive?
yeah.
Oh yeah,
He
yeah.
passed
Rest in
away.
peace.
He passed away a
Yeah.
couple years ago, and
Wow.
he was a great facilitator, and left and planted so many great seeds with
Yes.
so many of these young people. And I
Hmm.
knew that when I was going into the classroom, that I was trying to do it in a way where it's like understanding that I have to create a safe space for these young people when I'm going in there. I can't go in there like I'm the smart poet and I know
Hmm.
it. No, 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 no. Humble thyself. Go in there
Exactly.
and teach them the semantics of poetry, how to create your poem, how to write, how to create voice, how to do um, rhyme schemes or non-rhyme schemes, or
Hmm.
figure out figurative language, literary devices. That's what I'm getting to.
Exactly.
And then let them figure out what they want to write within a
Hmm.
safe space.
Exactly. And what the challenges, what type of challenges did you face in Chicago growing up as a young Black girl, from once a single parent home? What obstacles did you challenge and how did you get over those obstacles? I'm sure
It's so
you had
many.
some.
I would say this, from walking around in the community, trying to avoid the pitfalls of things. So you have people that are out there that mean well, and then you have
Mhm.
people in your community that are doing like a little grimy stuff. So you,
Say grimy. Well,
yeah,
that's putting it nicely.
decision
Excuse me.
making is a very important thing that you need to have. So
Mhm.
for me, was like trying to make sure that I don't get myself in trouble. And I
Mhm.
knew that, I had a younger brother, and I wanted to make sure that I did what I needed to do because my mom worked long hours.
Mhm.
I didn't want to get myself in trouble, and then she got to come over to the police station and get me. And nah, I didn't want her to come up to the school and be like, I got to beat this girl behind because she did something. So
Right.
my
My
mom was
mom didn't
nobody
play
to play
neither.
with. She's a sweet
Yeah,
lady, but she ain't playing. When she give you the eye, she means
that's
business.
right.
So
I remember that
I didn't
old
want
evil
to.
eye.
I ain't messing with that lady like that. No.
That kept us in line. They actually kept us out of a lot of trouble, didn't it?
My mom kept me out of a lot of trouble because she was a God fearing woman. But
Right.
I still made mistakes. You know,
Hmm.
yes, I cut classes. I never got in trouble because I'm slick with it. I did my homework. That's what you're supposed to do, people.
Now, in 2004, you won the Gwendolyn Brooks Book of Poetry, in poetry, rather. Tell me about that. How did
Um,
that come about?
that was a weird situation. Now, so I started teaching with the Poetry Center around 2001, and basically it was like a slow go. But my first assignment was working at an African center. Ooh, there was a cultural difference. That was my first experience on the north side, right there on Sheridan Road.
I know where that's at.
Yeah, and I was like culture shock. It was like shell shocked. But the kids
Mm.
were great. But the person over that program was really stern, and
Hmm.
I had to make sure the kids were safe and having a good time, and it conflicted with the culture, and I had to
Okay.
adapt myself. So after that experience, which I was like, I'm not going back to that site. They want me to come back, but I chose not to go back to that site for various reasons. I started focusing
Wow.
on working on the South Side specifically, and I started getting schools all around the South Side because I was consistent. My writers were great. A part of the program was for us to have kids write poetry and be
Uh-huh.
published. And during my experience, because you know me, I just know where to find things for my kids to get published outside of the program because that's Pam. I'm an advocate. I'm a natural
That's
advocate. Okay.
good. Yeah, you are.
So people that I know in the industry were like, "Oh, I need some poets over here," and I'm like, "No." tiptoeing and asking the kids and getting approval from the parents and saying, "Hey, can with
Mm-hmm.
your child, like, is it okay to submit this on behalf of your child?" So I got a lot of kids published, and
Okay.
I guess they chose me. I don't know. They chose me, and I didn't know I was chosen until we came to a party at the end of the school year,
Uh-huh.
and it was like, "Oh yeah, we got the Gwendolyn Brooks Poetry Award winner." And it's Pam Osby. I'm like, what? They hand me a check. I got a check with it too. It wasn't just a title. I was like, what's going on?
Well, that's all a part of it. We
I
don't
was just having
expect,
fun doing poetry. That's
right.
all I'm gonna say. Just having
We
fun.
don't expect to get compensated for our talents or for our creativity, but God will do it because we're sharing an art. It's an art
Right.
form that's much needed. And I see in Mocha, Muses of a Mocha Sister, you've got a lot of. I read some of your poetry. You've got a lot of poetry on love. So let's talk about love. Because one of the things that had in the poster that we would share about love, grief, awareness. Now, as far as your love poetry, where did that come from? I mean, what kind of episodes that you have in
Episodes. Lord, I had some episodes.
episodes?
So my episodes in love were various, but I challenged myself to love. Being a girl who grew up without her father, you can have a conflicted ideal and lens around love. And
Yeah,
for a long time,
true.
before I did musings, I was like, no, if he can't stay, well, I'm gonna expect these guys to stay. But I had great, some very interesting relationships. My longest relationships was with my ex in Chicago. We were together for 5 years. I kept that
Okay.
relationship a secret. I didn't want too many people to know about it because I kept it under there. I mean, nobody really knew. They're like, "You got a boyfriend or not?" So
Okay, you were one of the low key ones.
I was low key. You ain't even see this is before Facebook. This wasn't like he wouldn't even been on my page. By the way, he been on the page, but you ain't know he on the page because I keep it.
Right.
But for
Of
me,
course, we go through the heartbreak, and that kind of helped me to write some of my poetry, the heartbreak.
yeah, I had
So,
some heartbreak. I had some enlightenment moments where, okay, the beauty of love, the devotion. Like I have a lot of devotional type of poems, like "I love you"
mhm.
and devotion and commitment. And then I have the love of sensuality. I have the
Spiritual.
love of spirituality. I
Okay.
have the self love of my own self.
So it's well
So
rounded then.
it
It's
goes
a
all
well
around.
rounded
And
book. And
yeah,
that's what we are. We're more than one dimension. So when people
right.
think of love, a lot of times they just think of a relationship between a man and a woman. But you have the love between family members,
Or just even a
friendship,
dedication poem that you
love,
would write
self
to
love.
your mother or to a feeling. So
Hmm.
as a writer, I like to delve in little lenses of a lot of different experiences that sometimes I overhear a conversation, or maybe it was based on something that I actually experienced, and I said, I got to write this. So, and a lot of the poems in that first book were kind of crafted from me just going to coffee house, hanging out with you, hanging out with some of my other friends, and I just compiled it over years, and I set it
Okay.
aside. And when I decided to do the book, it was a joke because I was like, ain't nobody gonna buy this book, so I'm gonna do this book, and we gonna see who's gonna
Wow.
buy the book. Okay.
Girl, this book is good. It really is. And then in the back, there's like a whole like two other books in the back that you have began to write. And so
Because
I
I
can't
plan
wait
not
to
to write no
finish
more
reading
books.
it.
Like I said, I was doing this as a we gonna put it all in one book, and we
Mhm.
ain't gonna do no more books. Like no need to do no more books, Pam. Put it all in one book, and then when you retire, somebody will get this book out of the
Who
library.
knows? It may get made into a movie one day. You never know. You got a lot of friends of ours that are doing their movies now from based on their books,
Oh yeah, yeah. A lot of
So
people are. I mean, somebody could reach out and want to collaborate. I could get my
mhm,
movie, one of these things in Tubi. We could do a
mhm.
Tubi movie.
Now, making it out the hood, which is kind of what our theme is, with the Profile Chicago series. How did you make it out the hood? I know now you're in New Jersey, but At what point did you say, I want to see something bigger than what I'm seeing?
So what's funny is I was, teaching up to like around 2009. And at that time, I had a
Mm-hmm.
contract with Chicago Public School and Poetry Center in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And then something just was not clicking that last year. Um, I would think it was like April of 2009. And they
Mm-hmm.
basically said, you only got 1 week left on your contract. I was like, "Oh, I want to
Really?
try them." I said, "What?" And it was like, "And we're not sure if we're gonna be able to give you a full contract in the fall because I had 4 schools at one time. I just like back to back schools,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how I made my money." And I was like, "Well, I'm gonna leave."
So
Now
you
my
just
family
left
looking at me
Chicago.
like, "Oh, what do you think you're gonna do? What you gonna do? Where you going?" Oh, Pam gonna go to the most expensive place in the country. She gonna make it.
So
So
had you ever been outside of Chicago as far as living
yeah,
in
I
another
had
city?
because when I did music of the Mocha Sister, I did a lot of traveling to other cities. I went to Vegas. I went to 20 cities. I went to all kinds of cities while I was
Oh,
still
okay.
living as a starving artist in Chicago before I moved out of Chicago.
Okay.
So I decided to try to apply to be like a teacher, teaching organization, Teach for America. They didn't select me.
Okay. Hmm.
Now, most people would have left it at that, said, "Oh, I tried to do something different. I'm going to stay at home. I'm not going to be able to go." Mind you, I didn't have no money saved when I moved to the East. I had $300 in my pocket because I'm real crazy. I mean, for real. Because I don't know too many people going to move like that. I do not suggest that you did what I did, but I went out on a
On
limb
faith.
on faith because I am God employed. We could talk about that later, but I'm God employed, and wherever
Mm,
He say go is where the girl goes.
I
So
like that.
I applied for on the application. When it came back, we're not gonna take you. It says, would you like us to share your information with other nonprofits?
Mm-hmm.
I said yes, and from that I got New
Wow.
York, Minnesota, St. Louis, and other cities outside of Chicago. And
Mm-hmm.
from there, I started doing online, phone interviews. And New York contacted me for a volunteer coordinator position. I was like, I don't know what it is, but I'm out. Y'all gonna pay me some money? Cool. So
That's
y'all
right.
gonna
You
give
have
me
to
a
make your
relocation?
demands
Y'all gonna give me a
known.
relocation package? Cool. Let's go. Let's go. People,
And you
think
did it, huh?
outside of your box. Stop being scared and stop being comfortable. When I told people I was leaving, I got the side eye more than once. They're like, "Yeah, I don't know why you leaving. You can work here." I looked at the market and I saw nothing. I saw nothing for myself. I love Chicago. Don't get me wrong. But I was like,
Mm-hmm.
you need to go outside Chicago. And this, the other backstory is I had applied for grad school in Chicago and got rejected multiple times
Wow.
because I didn't have the perfect background. Because
What?
my GPA was not
Really?
a 3.0, they would not take me on a probational period. I applied to the wrong colleges. I did Chicago State University. I did Roosevelt State University. Um,
Mm-hmm.
any one of those, DePaul University, whatever. It was like, no, 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 no. So I decided, I
I'm
decided to take a leap.
excited.
Yeah, I decided to take a leap, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and apply for
Right.
the job, and I'll see what happens. I mean, well, what's the worst can happen?
And you did it. Now let's talk about health and wellness because you have just received your certification in vegan nutrition, which is wonderful. We really need to talk about health because of the Black community. We as African Americans, we They say we have the highest numbers in diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, and a lot of times they say it's the environment or it's the food that we're eating. So basically, we want our numbers to get better as far as our health.
Right.
So what prompted you to start changing your diet? Because I know that you do a weekly also vlog on Speak Truth to Life, where you talk about your life as a vegan, that you're eating, well, mostly
Plant
plant-based
based. Yeah.
foods. Yeah, so
For
talk
me,
about that.
I started looking at the fact that, I have failed miserably several times.
Hello. Who hasn't?
Your girl done everything from Slim Fast. I did Jenny Craig. I did Weight Watchers twice. I done
Okay.
crazy diets like the cabbage diet. Look, I done diets, y'all. I
Okay.
said this time we not doing diets. We doing lifestyle change. That's where you ain't making it.
Mm-hmm.
So last year, I went to a friend that happens to be a health coach at the time, and I was like, "Look, I don't need you to do too much with me. Just check on me from time to time, but I do need access to some kind of health program."
Mm-hmm.
So I did what most people won't do, because most people will be like, "I'm not spending no money. We don't want to spend money on nothing." I didn't have to spend money on her. I had to spend money to get access to this
Mm-hmm.
website for online workouts. I think I spent like 150 or something just for the year, which breaks down to $9 a month. Okay, if you could go get some pizza, you can spend $9 a month to
It's
take care of
well
your health.
worth it because
So,
health is wealth.
so I did that. I did some meal replacements along with that,
Okay.
and you know, hard work. It was not easy. She contacted me. I got a little spicy with her. I was like, "Look, I don't want to do no workouts the way you want to do it, but I did. I did. Thank you. Shout out to Belky. That's my
Mm-hmm.
girl." And I lost 40 pounds.
Wonderful.
And
That's
and
a
and
blessing.
then, and
It
then I
took work though. It
yeah.
didn't just take prayer. Oh Lord, please help me to lose weight. It took work, right?
I
You
did
had
the
to.
prayer before I started the journey, because I told the Lord I cannot do this by myself. So
Yes.
please help your girl.
Yes.
So I did that, and then I started looking at the fact that I don't have to give up everything.
Right.
Why
I
can't you
mean,
eat in moderation?
it's well known that the diets that they used to put out years ago didn't work because people started going off the diet. They crashed or whatever.
Once you finish the
So,
diet, then you're gonna go back to how you used to eat. And
hmm
so for
hmm
me, I was like, okay, yeah, I did good, and I kept pushing myself. I'm very proud of myself, because the only reason why you see me posting is because there's somebody else on my list that I know is struggling with their
yeah,
health challenges, and most are African American or Latino.
yeah,
Okay. And
hmm
also, side note, from my job, a lot of people, a lot of the claims that I have, I mean, it shows you the medical issues that they have. And it
hmm
says asthma, diabetes, hypertension, obesity. Most of the
wow,
cases are overweight or obese, diabetes, and hypertension every single time. And it's somebody of color. With that, I went through some family
hmm
stuff at the end of the
hmm
year. And of course, I could have used that as an excuse to say, I'm going to go back, I'm going to eat whatever, I got excuse. But when you work that hard, you're like, yo, I got to keep going. So, I reconfigured my eating pattern, and
hmm
I I figured out that maybe it's okay for me to be a vegetarian. I most of my meals are vegan. I ain't gonna lie, but I'm
hmm
not a full vegan because I have to
hmm
have a little cheese and eggs. Forgive me and
Girl,
don't hate
that's
me.
my problem. I
Food
can't give up the
detectives,
cheese
don't
for
hate
now.
me. I have to eat what I gotta eat for me. You eat what eating works for you. Okay, I got
I
the
mean, I'm
nutrition.
not a vegan or anything, but I'm eating better. It's a gradual process.
It's a
Nobody is
long process. It's
perfect,
a long process. You know,
You may go off, but get back on
I
track.
went off for a little while, and I went back to meat, and then in December I stopped. After December, I eat no more meat. I was like, December 31st, that's your last meat, and
Well,
you
whatever works
know,
for you. If
I
that works for
reconfigured
you,
myself, and now I'm doing more of a plant based diet. I start looking at the alkaline lifestyle. I hate the word diet.
mhm,
Lifestyle. This is my eating
right,
lifestyle. My kitchen
lifestyle.
is filled with vegan or vegetarian stuff. Fresh fruits, vegetables, and beans and lentils and all that type of stuff. Brown rice, whole grains, and whole grain flours. So,
Yeah, I use chickpea flour. I don't use the white flour anymore because the white flour and the white bread, it doesn't settle well. It's just not good for us. Really, anything white. Look, sugar, flour, white flour, bleach flour, whatever. Anything
and
that's
those
like
fake sugars
white.
aren't good for you either. I tried to do the fake sugars, or what you call like Splenda and stuff like that.
Right.
For some reason, even Monk, it's just, I did a whole research on sugar, and I have it on my channel. Anybody wants to look at that. But what I
Hmm.
decided to do was do natural sugars, which is maple syrup, agave syrup, or something like that. Coconut sugar is okay because it's not brown; it's made from dates. Um,
Exactly.
Natural sugars, but you don't need to use that every day. I train myself to drink
Hmm.
my teas and my coffee as less sugar as possible, because when I was working in the office, I used to do 9 or 10 packets of sugar. That is not
Hmm.
good. And that's an easy track to become a diabetic. Okay.
And to go back with what you were saying about how you notice that most of the people, the clients or whatever, that their health past their health history was that they had the obesity and the high blood pressure. We need to recognize that our food, some of our food is killing us. We don't have to eat the same food that our grandparents or great grandparents ate. Sure, back in the day, that's all they had. They had got thrown the last of the pig or whatever, the pig
Exactly.
guts and all of that. You don't have to continue to eat that stuff because what it does is, if you notice, if you know anything about the pig does not sweat. So if the pig doesn't sweat, I believe
Mm.
that's where they're keeping the sodium stays in the pig's body, and then we eat that. And I won't say that I haven't eaten like rib or something this year. I have. That's my weakness, but you know what? You can't do anything too much of anything. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
you're right.
If
You're
you do
right
it
about
once a
that.
year, okay, do it. But as far as eating like that every week or eating meat every day with every meal, mornings I don't eat meat. So that's just me. Because the high blood pressure is in my family, and we have to really be careful of that. So I commend you for, going on that journey of not eating meat, whatever works for you. If that works for you, then do it.
Yeah,
That's
whatever
great.
works for you. I tell people do what works for them. For me, I just can't. I know that my relationship with meat is not good. And I know when
Mhm.
I ate meat, the only thing I wanted to eat was some white bread and something super starchy. And I had
Mhm.
no vegetables. In fact, one short story I'm going to tell you about health is the
Uh-huh.
fact that because I wasn't eating fruits and vegetables, I made myself anemic. And a lot of Black women are anemic because they're not putting in their body the things that they need that are iron rich foods.
Okay,
Tomato
like for
and
instance,
kale and your greens.
okay. Mm-hmm.
You can reverse that by putting in your body what your body needs. And
Yes.
I think when I was like in my early 20s, they told me I was anemic. I didn't really realize what that was. But from years of not eating fruits and vegetables, from years and years of not
Yep.
putting in my body, I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
have blackstrap molasses. It's old school, y'all. It has
I heard
iron,
about that.
it
I
has
heard that's good.
magnesium in it. And
Mm-hmm.
hey, find a creative ways to use it. You don't have to,
Mm-hmm.
you could be like a child when you had that castor oil and take it and put it in your mouth. But
The
you
castor oil. Oh,
you make
please
a
don't
bowl
remind
of
me of that
oatmeal,
stuff.
make a bowl of oatmeal, drizzle it on there. Take
Actually,
some.
those old remedies really work better. For instance, remember the for instance, my mother would always cut up a clove of garlic if we got sick, and
It
it works
works.
to this
I
day.
used it
It
first.
works. Yeah, it brings the blood pressure down. Those little old remedies work for
We up
us.
here buying all this expensive stuff that we think we
Mhm.
need. When I got sick, I guess it was COVID back in January, last
Mhm.
year. I was trying everything like lozenges, and I was taking teas, and I was like, I don't
Mhm.
know what to do. And people are like, Pam, have you tried cutting up some garlic and put it in your tea and then eat it? I said, really?
Exactly. It really
So
it,
I
it
did
it
that,
works
and I did
well.
raw ginger. Ginger root is overlooked. We don't use it. I buy it all
Ginger.
the time. It is a
Yeah,
RX for me. It is a medicine. It's a
it
natural
is.
medicine. That and garlic. Garlic, you can. Some people swear by it. They said they eat it or put it in their
Mhm.
food and they don't get sick.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I could tell you this: I haven't been sick since COVID.
The garlic does work. I know. I remember when you was posting about that. Yeah. And another thing about posting on Facebook is that people don't understand the dynamics of social media. When people post that they're going through something or that they're sick and people start throwing up those praying hands, some people actually do pray
I
and that
do.
and
I
that
do. If
helps.
if if I see it and I put
Yep.
that down, I am
It,
actually praying. I
those
don't play with that.
Those prayer warriors work. I tell you, those prayers work. And that's why some of the young people don't understand. You know, they call Facebook, for instance, that's where the old people are. Look, the old people healing themselves now. They praying for each other. They look younger than the young people. Look, you living your best life, but you living, off the brinks. You're drinking alcohol every day. You know what I'm saying? You're destroying your body. You look 10, 20 years older than your
I
age.
see some
So,
people that are younger than me, and I'm like, I shake my head. I said, Lord, forgive me, but you look
it's the
way older than me,
alcohol
and I'm in my 50s. You in your 40s, and you looking like you 60. I'm just saying,
or 80. Yes, honey.
take care.
It's the
We're not
drinking
taking
too
care of
much and the
ourselves.
food. It's the diet too. The
The
diet
diet
and not
is
sleeping
terrible.
enough. It's not sleeping. You got to get your proper amount of sleep and rest. If I knew know now what I if I knew then what I don't know now, what I know now
Right.
rather, it would be I would make better choices. So I don't down the young people, but yeah, we're living better because we're eating better, we're making healthier choices, and that's what it's about.
I mean,
Facebook.
when you talk about age and quickly before the show, I was
Mhm.
like listening to music like I always do. And two of my favorite artists, one is Babyface. He's 62 years old, looking like he's 42.
A lot of them are vegan. I'm gonna tell you a whole
Dude,
list.
dude, it looks like a baby face. And he's
Yeah,
62.
and then it's the
Ron
life that they
Isley,
live too.
he
Now
ain't
the
young
money.
either. And he looked like a baby face. Come on now, let's come on. Even his
Now,
brother looked like he looked good. I'm like, well, these guys, you in your
let's be
80s.
honest now. Some of the money makes you look good too. Now a lot of them don't get the face things and all of that, but
Well,
money
you
and
got the
being
money, you got
comfortable,
the
stress.
food that you can eat. You can eat the organic, and some of us
Mhm.
can't afford
Yeah,
that.
right,
You
right.
know, I mean, I spend a
Mhm.
lot of money on my food, and my mom's like,
Mhm.
How many times you shop during the week?" I have to shop to eat
Yeah,
the
you
correct
do.
thing. So, yeah, I do spend money on my food, but maybe it's because part of country I'm in.
Mhm. Well, you know what? I am so happy that you came on, and I want you to tell my audience, the readers, our subscribers, what motivates Pam? What motivates Mocha Sister? Because you had an episode, you've lost some loved ones, late was that late this year?
Late last year,
Late
yep.
last year you lost your brother, and I saw that, and it was really heartbreaking, and but you bounced right back, and that's what was so amazing. What I admire about you is you can't tell if something's bothering you. You never really come on Facebook with an attitude or anything. You may
Me
have a
and the
lot
Lord
going
have
on,
a prayer box. You know what I'm saying? What motivates me is my faith. I'm faith activated. That's what I call
Amen.
it. Just like God employed. But if if he can get me up every day, I swear, I'm swearing by the alkaline water. It gives me so much energy. I get up and the first thing I do is drink like 8 ounces of alkaline water. And then I get up and I get detox tea. I have a lot more energy because I'm taking care of myself. My health is my wealth. And I even now, what is it? Almost 8 o'clock. And I'm like,
Yeah, the alkaline does give you a lot of energy. Look, you have to be
don't
careful
drink
not
it
to drink
after
it at
night,
night,
y'all.
though.
Don't drink that at night because you're gonna be having a hard time going to sleep. So don't drink it at night because you're gonna
Exactly.
be up, okay? But
Exactly.
what also activates me is the fact that I know I'm still in divine order and I know my purpose, the purpose that God has me fulfilling, still needs to be met. If my eyes are open, I still have to do what He brought me here to do.
Mm,
So it's like,
there you go.
even if I feel like my job is the most simplest job, no, I am helping people that are essential workers. I have to be on point. I joke with my coworkers. I say, look, don't call me before 9 o'clock. I got to get my coffee. I got to
That's the
wake up, y'all.
boundaries.
I
We
got to
talked
wake up
about
first.
that. You gotta have boundaries, yeah, because if not,
And
your
then
phone will be
I'm
ringing off
ready
the
for
hook.
you. Unless we have a real good meeting that we got to get done before then, don't call me because I'm still waking up. I'm still processing. I start work at 7:30 in the morning, but I have a lot more energy since I lost that first 40 pounds, and I lost an additional 12 pounds or something like that this
Hmm.
year. And that's only because I reworked my diet. Thank God I got that certification because it got me looking at labels now. Um, but yeah, I'm also motivated by, like I said, my faith, my family, and my health helps me to achieve a lot more. Like I'm doing 2 podcasts.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I'm thinking. What helped you is that you dove right into because the grief, dealing with grief, you have to replace that void. You have to kind of, not that you want to forget what, or go through the grieving
Oh,
process.
I still got the grief process. I'm
Yeah.
in different stages of it. And one of the things that got me to thinking, what would Kevin want me to be doing?
Your
He
brother,
would not
Kevin.
want my brother. He
Hmm.
would not want me to be sitting on my laurels.
Hmm.
He would say, "Look, I'm gone. I spent my time here. After my brother left, I did a lot of things to keep him in my head. I have a cover that has his picture on it. I have a pillow that has his picture on it. I got, I went,
Yeah.
well, some people are like, you doing too
I
much.
remember.
I have
Mhm.
memories of him around me because I don't want to forget my brother. And also, it's a reminder that you have to live in the dash, y'all. Your dash is all you
There
got.
you
This
go.
dance that we take in between the time we're born and the time we're gone, we're in
Yes.
the middle of it. What are you doing with your time? And
Yes.
I think at the end of December, I was like, you know what?
Hmm.
You need to do a podcast. You got to process some things and talk about some things, fam. That's when you
Hmm.
get your healing is connecting with others. And many people have said, "Hey, I like your podcast. You're good. I want to
Yes,
listen to
you
you
have a
or
wonderful
whatever."
speaking
So,
voice. Yeah, you definitely your voice, of course, that poetry voice is just it's captivating. I may want you to
my
do
friend's
a
like,
couple
"Oh,
of
Pam, it's
interviews
like a
for
cup
me
of
too.
coffee. It's like a warm cup of coffee." I said, "What are you talking about, girl? This is my voice." She said, "You know how it sounds."
It's soothing, and people say that about me too. Our voices are is soothing. You recently we talked about your brother briefly, but you want to talk about mental illness and sometimes the hidden secret that black men are the last, which is a sort of like a rumor, but I believe it's true that black men don't seek therapy like they should,
They don't seek
because
therapy because of the stigma. They don't want any because the way they were raised is to be strong, to be providers, to be doing all these things, but they weren't encouraged to go to the doctor. You talk to black men about going to get a prostate cancer appointment and see what kind of reaction you get. A lot of times they don't
you can go
don't want to
ahead,
go to the doctor.
continue, Pam, continue.
So I think it's a big stigma with mental illness in Black men. Some men just don't go and get treated because they don't know where to start. Women have been told and encouraged to get that assisted or taken care of, but Black men are told that they're supposed to be quote unquote strong all the
Mm-hmm.
time. They're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be invincible. And
Right.
it humbles you when you get a call from a family member, just happens to be a guy, and says, I've had thoughts of suicide or et cetera, et cetera. What should I do? And
Oh,
you tell them, hey, you're valuable too. You should go to the doctor. You should try to
exactly.
seek out a therapist. And, I encourage people, if you are working, you have access to the employee assistance program that's usually attached
Mm-hmm.
to your benefits. Is a free benefits where they basically can help you find a therapist. They can help you find resources, and that's just one thing that you could use. But there are hotlines as well out here if you
Yeah,
need
the 1-800 suicide that,
one
because
eight hundred
it's a
suicide.
serious thing. Yeah,
Um,
it's a
I
serious,
highly encourage it. I
yeah.
talk to so many
Especially
men.
veterans, people
I
that
worked
have,
with veterans for almost 4 years, and I had the best conversations with those guys. And unfortunately, they don't have people that open them with wow. I mean, you would be in tears in that chair, but you had to do the job and
mm,
be like, you know what? I'm going to be that safe space, non judgmental person, and allow them to tell their story. Because in
mm-hmm.
society, people telling a story on the news, you're a criminal, you're this, you're that. And that's also another part as well. I think
And I
that's
think,
another part that makes it hard for men because they don't feel like nobody would want to listen to them. So why should I go get a therapist? Because what are they going to say? They're just going to say whatever script they got, and they may not
and
understand where I'm coming from.
and being, taught that men, are supposed to be this strong figure that never cries or never reaches out, which is so false,
That's so false. But when they're
Yeah.
boys, they're told to suck it up. What you crying
Mm-hmm.
for? Be a man. When they're kids,
Mm-hmm.
this what it
Exactly.
is.
So yeah, I think they need that, as a country, we need to treat the veterans better. It's really sad that like in California, Vegas, you can look outside on the street and people are actually sleeping out on the street. A lot of those people are veterans. A lot of
New
those
York,
people
the
have
same
been turned
thing.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the mental illness, that plays into what happens to a lot of people, is that they from PTSD, post traumatic stress, they, and then with the COVID, that
It's even
people
worse now
are
with
having
COVID because
PTSD
there's
from
so many
this.
people on the trains. Before I moved over to New Jersey, when I was living in New York, um, all on the trains. They're all over. They took over the trains. There's no place for them to go. Some of them don't trust other people in society,
Mhm.
um, and they choose to make the trains and the train stations their
Mhm.
homes.
Mhm.
I had several veterans say, I might just leave here and go live in a camp so I can live my life. I don't want nobody to tell me what to do. A lot of people don't want to go into a shelter because they want to have ownership of themselves. Because when you go into a shelter, it's like being in a prison. No offense, but
Well,
it is what it is. You got people that are going to tell you what to do.
yeah,
And
you got to do what you got to do. It's like
you gotta do
going
the
from
rules, or you
stages,
out the door. They're not gonna keep.
right?
They can only keep you so far if you are working in the parameter of the rules and regulations. That means if you have a drug addiction, you must go to substance abuse counseling. They have counseling sessions. If you're trying to go for employment, you go to a person that has vocational. That's my job. I used to work with the veterans for that.
Yeah,
And
because you have a degree in disability, right?
yeah.
Hmm.
That's funny too, how I get that degree, because a lot of, remember earlier in the show we talked about how Chicago was like saying no, 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 no. And
Right.
um I found a way. I found a skinny way to get it. So anybody that's out there that maybe you got 2.7, maybe you got a 1.9. I don't know. I ain't no shade. I got a 2.6. I party a little bit too much. No, not crazy, y'all. Y'all know I don't turn up, but I did enjoy my college experience. I'm gonna leave it there again. but
But you made it out the hood, and that's
I
what
made
we're
it out
talking
the hood,
about.
y'all.
She
But
made it out the hood, and that's what's
But
important.
how I got where I got was I was working and they had some kind of some kind of program at one of the colleges, City University of New York. It's called CUNY, a School of Professional Studies. It was like, oh yeah, you could do 1 year youth development. I went back and I got that. I got all A's. They took me on
Wonderful.
probation, and I
Hmm.
promised that I would not, I would kick it good, and I did because I'm not a
Hmm.
dummy, and I know how to study, I know how to do papers, I know how to do presentations, whatever. So I took those credits. See, this is what you could do, y'all. You could go in on the back end like I did and prove yourself. And when I got those credits, I went back to that college department
Hmm.
and said, is it possible I can utilize and apply these to a master's program? Hey, you can ask people. Don't assume just
Just
because.
acts.
And
Yeah.
I asked, and then I found out other people in my program were going back to get their
Hmm.
master's. I was like, because
You
I'm
know,
going to get
it's
my
like,
master's too.
and we're not like spring chickens,
I
we're
was
not
one of
in
the
our
oldest people
20s.
up in that class, y'all.
I got my degree, about 3 years ago. So it's never too late. I told a loved one of mine, I said, it's never too late. If I can go back and get my degree and I'm in my 50s, you can
That's
get it.
right.
So, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do Chicago success stories, because in the news, you always see the media, the negativity about Chicago and how many people died and things like that. And we're sorry, we pray for them. But there are successful people in Chicago who need to be profiled, who are doing good.
Yeah,
And let others know that you can make it out of the hood.
you can make
That
it
you
out of the
can.
hood.
The
I
hood
mean,
has good points, the hood has bad points, but you can make it to whatever
I
plateau
came a
you
long
need to
way,
go.
just to put it in context for people. When I was a teaching artist, I made $50 an hour, right? But unfortunately, my checks were coming every 8 weeks, 5 to 8 weeks. It was almost like being paid once a month. And I had
Right.
to live off of that. And it wasn't taxed, which meant when I came to New York, I had to pay that money back. It was a whole mess.
Mm. Yeah.
But after I got my master's degree, this wonderful ideal I got of myself was, I got tired of working in the shelter. I love working in the shelter, but at the same time, the trauma I was being exposed to and soaking in from so many sources and people, that can make you, like, I hate to use the word crazy. It can make you crazy for real. So
Mm.
I decided to apply for something in disability management, and I didn't think nobody was going to hire me because I was like, well, you don't have too much experience, but yes, you do. You've been doing individuals with disabilities for how long? For a long time. I ended up
Mhm.
with working in a private industry that pays competitively.
Competitively, huh?
That means I'm in between. Well, my old job really was less than
Hmm.
15 grand than what I make now.
Okay. That's what I'm talking about. And success is different. There are different variations of
I
success.
can live off of this on the
You
East, but
know,
if I was in any other city, I would be in a house right now.
I know. I know. I heard about how much rent you pay, which I'm going to hook you up with Michael J. Hallman, my
I got
last
to. I
guest,
got. I said, don't let me get back to the
who
Midwest.
has houses for
1 year,
sale.
look, 1 year in an apartment, and the next year somebody get me in a townhouse or something,
Right.
something for real.
Right.
But
Well,
I would never thought that I would get paid competitively. And I used to joke with my coworkers, and that's why I tell people speak your truth out loud, because I
speak your
basically said,
truth.
look, I
Speak
want
truth
to
to
make
life.
I want to make $10,000 more. That's all I wanted. And when it came back with the offer, I told him, look, I'll take X amount of dollars. It was like
Mm-hmm.
$5,000 more than what I made. That's how bad I wanted to leave. If anybody from my old job, I love you guys, but it's no shade, but you should not be in the East making under 60,000. You can't live off of that in the East. You are living under your means. You're paying so much money for rent. You gotta have a roommate, or you gotta live in a basement apartment. That's the reality of it.
That's why it's so amazing that they're fighting in Congress over paying people $15 an hour.
They just being
$17 an
selfish.
hour was the minimum wage, 10 years, 20 years ago almost. And it's still like $7, $8 an hour, the minimum wage. It should
Minimum
be
wage in New
$15.
Jersey is like $8 or $9 an hour. How
That's
in the
crazy.
heck are you supposed to live off of
You
that when
can't.
your rent is 1,500 and 1,600?
That's why the
Stop it.
people wind up having to get food. They happen to have to go on food stamps, which is called whatever they call it now, food stamps, because they can't afford the food and their rent on $8 an hour. It has to be at
Ain't
least
no
fifteen
shade in
dollars an
my
hour.
game. I had to get in the line for the food stamps when I first moved to New York. Because my first year in New York, I made 13,000 a year, which is next to nothing. That is the
Poverty.
poverty
Mhm.
line, people.
Mm.
And I wasn't going to get in the line because pride.
Of
And
course.
and one of my friends was like, white girl. She was like, "Well, I just applied for mine," and I was just like,
Okay,
and
girl,
then she
please, you
told me
better
she was
get
going to
it.
Whole
Get it.
Foods. Girl,
Because
she
you
had the
need it. You
card. She
got
said,
to
"I'm
eat.
going to Whole Foods."
And that's how you're able to buy the whole foods and expensive food
I
that is
said,
healthy
"I'm
for
doing it
you,
so
you
wrong."
know. But you know what? We're going to close out. I have enjoyed this. And I want to know what words of encouragement you would like to leave our viewers with. And we're going to end it on that note.
Um, Mocha's last words: believe in yourself and know your truth. If you have a plan and you want to execute it, you can go and execute it. Don't tell everybody what you're gonna do, because some people are not ready for what you're about to do, because you're about to blow their mind. Keep it to your inner circle, but create a plan that you can execute. And if you mess up on a few steps, it's okay.
Mm-hmm,
It's not
mm-hmm.
going to be perfect, but you'll get there. But you're not going to get there by just dreaming about it. You got
Right.
to do it and be about it, y'all. That's how you make it out of the hood. If I kept on saying I was going to be a writer, or I was going to go to New York, and kept talking about it, you have to make things a reality. And it's kind of like when you look at making SMART goals. Just look up SMART goals. SMART goals are simple goals that you can make small, measurable steps towards the larger goal.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't make the goals, you're just talking hot air. You just like talking to sound good. Are you talking to sound good, or are you going to be about it? Or as the people from the Show Me State says, show me what you're going to do. Show yourself what you're going to do and show up for yourself. That's all I
Mm.
got.
Oh, I love that. I love that. On that note, thank you for joining me, Pam
Thank
Osby,
you.
Mocha sister, poet, author, friend. She is just a great person. She supports whatever your endeavors are on Facebook. She has supported my body butters and anything I have that's going on. Mocha is right there. So thank you for joining me. I appreciate you. God bless you and everything that you do.
Thank
And
you so
I've
much.
enjoyed this.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us on the Rise Woman Network. Be sure to tune in for our next video we're going to do on Chicago success stories. I'll show you the next profile in the next coming week. And thank you for joining us again and be blessed. Thank you, Pam. Be
Thank
blessed.
you. Bye.
Bye.